At the time, the organisation where I gained very high outcome rates for finding employment for people with a disability, prior to when they went into liquidation, I had been working with a One Nation supporter, somebody who loved Pauline Hanson. At that time, Scott Morrison was Prime Minister. Scott Morrison previously worked in services. He was Minister of Services in 2014, 2015, I believe. Now, at the time that the organisation went into liquidation, I question who decided that the organisation didn't deserve the tender that ultimately caused them to go into liquidation. So they didn't gain a tender that they were expecting. And prior to learning that they went into liquidation, the CEO resigned. Prior to news of the liquidation, the new replacement CEO who worked with the person I knew 30 years ago that had a relationship with an underage girl, she became CEO there. I met her only once, and it was after I had returned from a 3-week annual leave. Now, my outcome rate after 11 months working there was, well, on paper it said 33, but that's incorrect. It was more like 38, which is very high. The highest out of everybody else was 15. So I was very good at my job, and for them then to go into liquidation and for the new management that our jobs were transferred to another organisation that were associated, for that management then to put out a manager's role in my region, not give me the management role, and use sexual discrimination towards me, as well as at the Christmas party just prior, the middle manager, after disappearing with the senior manager for an hour and a half, coming back and saying that she would perform sexual favours for a promotion. And then a few months later, the management role coming out. So it all just, it looks like coercion. They're expecting that I will behave in a certain way, and for them to be expecting such, well, I had never, there was no reason for them to think that. No reason, because I was very focused on my work. I was a hard worker, and I had no time for talking to people. I just wanted, fellow staff, I just worked. And if I talked to anybody, it was to my clients, to support them, to help increase their self-confidence so that they had the motivation to work. So why did the new management treat me as such after the CEO who worked with somebody I knew 30 years ago did a flyby CEO appointment? And who in Canberra decided not to renew the tender that the organisation I worked for had previously? So just the sequence of events they indicate malicious intent. And from what I then experienced as a disability support worker, with the triggering of my values, and following this when I was in social works, the online intensive subjects where the topics being discussed were also somewhat testing and triggering to me. And then during my social work placement, they weren't trying to help develop my skills as a social worker in the social work profession. No, they were psychologically interrogating me.